Hello everyone, this is Bentley, and today I wanted to do kind of a short, quick tutorial on basically how to keep rainbow fish. I've done this before, I've done it for specific species, but what I really want to do is I've had a few questions about this lately of people like just setting up their first rainbow tank. So what do you need to know for setting up your very first rainbow fish tank? We're going to go down the fastest parts, the simplest parts. We'll go in heavier detail at some point, maybe as a part of building Animal House. We'll do some of that. But I want to do something simple. I'm just going to sit in front of a tank and babble at the camera for a few minutes and tell you everything you need to know about setting up your first rainbow tank. So first things first, you need a big tank. Big doesn't necessarily mean 100 or 200 gallons, but you need something that's typically 4 foot or 48 inches left to right, so your length dimension. Now, you don't always have to do this. There's plenty of ways to be successful in a 40-gallon breeder, but I really wouldn't go any smaller than that unless you are specifically using breeding setups or raising setups for very small fish. But long term, if you want to keep a healthy rainbow fish tank, some of the best options are things like a 55-gallon, a 75-gallon, or anything larger than that. If you want to go like 125 or something big, yeah, that's great for rainbows. But the minimum, the very minimum, I would say for a majority of the species is 140-gallon breeder. But realistically, if you want to do any of the most common, like Bozemanite, turquoise, some of the other, like the Goiter River rainbows, those guys get big. They'll get 5 inches. You really need something that's 4 foot left to right. You need a 75-gallon. Second thing, the water. Rainbows like harder water. They typically come from about 7.4, 7.6 pH, typically fairly mineral-rich water, somewhere between 200 and, even the low points is like 100 TDS. Highs can get up to even 400 in some cases. And they can handle a lot more. You could keep a rainbow anywhere between 7.2 and about 8 pH, and it won't even blink at it. But target that like 7.4, 7.6 range. Try to buffer it up if you have really soft water. If you're in Seattle like me, add some crushed coral, use some Wonder Shell. However you're going to buffer it, try to get it to that 7.4 and at least 100 TDS. Preferably about 140 to like 200 is a really good sweet spot to shoot for. So the big thing is water changes. You want to be able to do, I would honestly say 50% a week. And I know that can be daunting for a lot of folks who are looking at a bigger tank than maybe they normally keep. Maybe you typically do your water changes with buckets. This is one of the things that is where rainbows shine, is at a water change. You don't necessarily have to do a 50% once a week like I do. You could do 25% twice a week, but every time you get those water changes, you're going to see them really excited, really moving around, really good color. This is something that rainbows love. And that's because they typically come from streams, which have good throughput, or from fairly good tropical lakes where there's a lot of water moving in and out of the lake. And whether that's from rainfall or local river systems, what have you, there's lots of super clean water. Rainbows really don't come from very gritty, yucky water. It's not like the Amazon where it's like, a brown soup when you look in most of the water systems. They come from lakes that are crystal clear, and they're just beautiful blue water, or they're these lower kind of smaller stream systems that have fast, super clear water. Just really good water quality is big overall with rainbows. So do your water changes, have a little bit of hardness in the water, buffer it up if you need to. If you come from naturally really hard water, that's perfectly fine. There's guys in the Midwest that keep rainbows, and they're basically in like African cichlid style water, and the rainbows do okay. But if you can get them into that like 160 to even 240 TDS range, you are golden with rainbows. They're going to do great. Temperature-wise, this is another big thing. They do come from tropical climates, but for the most part, all the Australian rainbows can go hotter and colder than the ones from Papua New Guinea. So, as a rule, if you're looking at like Bozemanite, turquoise, things like that, try to target somewhere between 74 and 78 degrees Fahrenheit. That's different for Celsius. Sorry for you guys, but you know how to do the conversion. Really, I like 76 to 78. I think that's a good target range. If you're breeding, you might go a little warmer just to simulate that time of year and get them to produce more eggs. And usually warmer is better for raising babies. But if we're just talking about your first rainbow tank for keeping a bunch of adults, look at like 76, 78 degrees. I would target 76 personally for any of your common rainbows. Plants. I know that like a lot of people are going to be like, well, do they really come from a lot of plants in nature? No, not necessarily, but you know what? Rainbows are one of the fish that do so well in a planted tank. And it doesn't have to be a complicated aquascape. In fact, I would suggest staying away from hardscape like rock and driftwood, because as rainbows spar, the two males will spin around each other in circles really, really fast. They won't pay attention to their surroundings, and they'll bang their mouth, they'll bang their side, they'll scrape scales, all that kind of stuff. But if you just have plants to kind of decorate, like this tank back here, only plants, no hardscape whatsoever. This was designed specifically for rainbows, and it's perfect for them, other than the fact that there's not rainbows in it. Anyway, plants are really great. It just gives them stuff to break line of sight. If one dominant male is really picking on a specific other fish, or over chasing a female, if you don't have enough females, it lets them break line of sight. It lets them have places to hide, little territories. Plus, it just makes their color pop that much better. Go with dark substrates and black backgrounds if you want to see the best possible color. Very similar here. We've got a black background on this tank. We've got a dark substrate and a lot of plants. This is perfect for rainbow fish. The last important thing is really, I want to harp again on keep that water quality high. Water quality is so, so important with these guys when it comes to just the general parameters of your tank and making sure that you have extremely healthy rainbow fish that will live with you for 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 years. These guys can live a long time if you take good care of them. So let's get away from the important parameters of the tank. What should we be feeding them? How many should we keep? Those kind of things. So let's say that your starting tank is big enough, right, that you can do the bigger rainbows, so 75 gallons or more. I would look at initially starting with at least 6. These are a schooling fish. Just like our tetras and our danios, they're peaceful schoolers, but they do love being in groups. And more importantly, to get the best behavior out of that group, you want a mixture that is at least 1 male per female, preferably 1 male per 2 or more females. And the reason why you want to do this, when the males are doing their sparring, they get ready to spawn and all that stuff, they're daily spawners, they're going to chase the females like crazy. And if the males severely out-dominate the females in numbers, multiple males will continuously chase your females, and it's just bad for their health overall. So try to have at least as many females as males, and preferably, even though a lot of times, yeah, the females aren't as colorful, more. Because the more females you have compared to your males, those males are going to show even better color and even better behavior. And you're going to see far more spawning out of them if your goal is to eventually breed rainbows out of your first rainbow tank. Food-wise, they're really simple. They'll eat frickin' anything. Rapashi, flake, pellet, granule, live food, frozen food. They'll eat anything. But keep in mind, they come from an area where they tend to have higher proteins in their diet. So if we're looking at our food, don't feed too many veggie foods. It's good to mix some in every once in a while. But look at things like regularly supplementing with live or frozen food if you can, and finding a relatively good food that has its first couple ingredients are all like fish meal or krill meal, something like that. Some great examples of foods that I like are the Supervit that comes from Tropical. That's just really good. I like the flake personally, but you can do granules. A lot of my rainbows eat the granules. There's the new extreme flakes that Aquarium Co-op is carrying, which, you know, I haven't tried them yet, but they look really good. Sarah's Vipan, any of this kind of stuff. Fluval Bug Bites is phenomenal for rainbows, by the way, as far as a prepared food. But just make sure when you can, add in a little bit of frozen or live food. It doesn't have to be every day. You could do this once a week, but it's really good to get that high protein food to your rainbows every once in a while. Look at something like the spirulina brine, because they're a little gut loaded. Daphnia especially is phenomenally good. Cyclops is good. And you can even do a few other things like bloodworms and stuff like that. But I would look toward those microcrustaceans just because they tend to be a little bit better. Scuds is another great one, by the way. They're all just really, really good for adult rainbows. And that's basically it. Feed them good quality food with good protein. Keep really good water. Give them a pretty big tank. They love plants in a dark background to show good color. And keep at least as many males as you have females, preferably more females if you can. And you're going to be set to go. The only last thing that I will caution you with, and this is kind of important, is that it's really important to note that like rainbows jump. They're really aggressive at how they strike the water for food, and they will often fly out of the water. So put a lid on your tank. Trust me, I've had one rainbow while I was feeding fly out of the tank. I had to chase him across my floor, get him picked up, and get him back in the tank. And it was a heart attack inducing moment because I thought I was going to lose one of my male bosemani. So have a lid. That's kind of the last little tip for rainbows, and that will set you up. That is my basics, the fastest way I can give it to you on how to start your first rainbow fish tank. What I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. What's the first rainbow you would put in a brand new tank? If you were doing a rainbow fish tank specifically, which one do you want to keep as your first or maybe your next rainbow fish if you already keep rainbow fish? If you appreciate videos like this, little tips quickly on how to keep specific types of fish or even entire species of fish, maybe consider giving a little like, thumbs up, hit that button, and maybe even subscribe if you're not a subscriber yet. It really helps with the magical YouTube algorithms and helps the channel grow and lets us have an opportunity to spread more and more information and have a lot more fun babbling about fish. If you don't like talking about fish, I don't know why you're here, but go ahead and hit the thumbs down button twice, and we'll see you later. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and stay awesome.